Having chicken quesadillas in the freezer is a great way to make sure you eat something low in calories and high in protein when you don't have a lot of time to cook. Here's how you make a batch of 12 that not only tastes delicious but are also super easy to make. First up, the protein source. I choose to prepare skinless chicken breast for this recipe. Where I live, one chicken breast weighs around 180 grams and I'm trying to aim for 700 to 800 grams in total, so that means I'm going to prepare 4 chicken breasts in total. I slice them into strips first and then into bite-sized pieces. I find cooking the chicken like this makes it much easier, but you could also cook the chicken in one piece and slice it after it is cooked. Once you've cut the chicken, add the pieces to a bowl and repeat until everything is cut. Next, add 20 grams of olive oil. Quick reminder that I just came back from Greece where I produced one of the highest quality olive oils possible. We even already won a medal. Try it out, I promise just the smell will make it worth it. The link is in the description. For seasonings, I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons or 8 grams of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons or 6 grams of cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon or 3 grams of cumin, 2 teaspoons or 6 grams of paprika, 2 pinches of salt, and a good amount of freshly ground black pepper. Go in with your tongs and give it a stir until the meat is fully covered with seasonings and becomes red like you see here. Next up, the vegetables, and I like to keep it simple here. I will slice 2 red bell peppers into planks, turn them and cut again into bite-sized pieces, roughly the same size as the chicken. Then I also dice 3 red onions. They weigh 150 grams in total. All of the vegetables have roughly half the weight of the chicken, which is a good ratio for these quesadillas in my opinion. Put the vegetables into a separate bowl and set them aside. Next, I will show you how I can make an amazing avocado dipping sauce that tastes great with any kind of chicken dish. Slice up 2 whole avocados and remove the pit. You can do this with a spoon. If the avocado is ripe, the pit gets removed very easily. Then scoop out the avocado flesh and put it into a bowl, followed up by 200 grams of fat-free Greek yogurt and squeeze in the juice of 2 limes. Next, prepare a bunch, about 30 grams or so of fresh mint. Give it a fine chop and add it to the bowl as well. Alternatively, you can also use cilantro here. Finally, add a strong pinch of salt, half a teaspoon or 2 grams of garlic powder, and then go in with a fork or anything you can use to mash this for about a minute or so until it turns into this bright green dipping sauce. I do this dip all the time, I love it. Finally, let's talk about the tortillas. For quesadillas, I like to use medium-sized tortillas that have a diameter of 20 cm or 8 inches. One tip when meal prepping with tortillas: if you take them out of the package too early, they will become hard quite fast, so leave them in the package until the very end of the recipe when you need them. Also, I have access to protein tortillas. They are somehow the same price as regular tortillas and have 19 grams of protein per 100 grams, which is pretty good. However, you can of course use regular wheat tortillas. They usually have half the protein, but that's not that big of a deal. Okay, let's get cooking. Now please, before you start, place a big bowl beside your stove. You are gonna need it, and heat up your biggest pan to medium-high heat. Mine is 28 cm or 11 inches, and then take the chicken out of the bowl and add it to the pan, and please don't overcrowd it here. It's better to cook this in 2 batches so the meat can develop some color, which adds more flavor. Spread the chicken out, let it sit there for 1 minute, then immediately flip the meat and let it fry for 1 more minute. It's better to not completely overcook the meat here. If it's still slightly undercooked after 2 minutes, that is totally fine, because once you remove the chicken and add it to the bowl, it will still keep cooking here because the meat is still hot. If you overcook the meat and then remove it, it will then become dry in the bowl. So once the chicken is done, it's time for the vegetables. You need to add a teaspoon or 4 grams of oil and then cook the vegetables again into batches. No need to add seasonings here because the pan still has the seasonings from the chicken, and also it will combine with the chicken in the bowl later on anyway. Cook the vegetables for around 3 to 4 minutes, stirring them occasionally until the onions start to caramelize and become translucent and the peppers get some brown spots. Then remove them from the heat and add them to the chicken in the bowl and repeat with the rest. The last step is to give the meat and vegetables a good stir to combine all of the flavor from the seasonings, and then we can prepare the quesadillas. Lay out as many tortillas as you can fit on your table, and now add shredded mozzarella cheese. Place the bag on a scale and take out 20 grams of cheese for every tortilla. 20 grams is a good compromise between still tasting the cheese without adding too many calories per tortilla. Next is the avocado dipping sauce. Just take 1 big spoonful of the sauce and add it on top of the cheese. I don't measure this nor the meat on a scale. Instead, I just eyeball it roughly. Yes, there will be a difference in calories between the tortillas, but after you've eaten them all, it will balance itself out, so eyeballing is perfectly fine. As I said, I do the same for the meat and vegetables. Use 1 big scoop with a ladle of meat for every tortilla. However, if you want to be precise here, that is no problem. Just divide the total amount of meat and vegetables by 12 or whatever amount quesadillas you want to make. Once they are filled, close one side of the tortilla over the other side and then press down the middle. Try to spread the filling filling towards the edges here so everything gets distributed a bit. Repeat this with all of the food until all of the meat is distributed amongst all tortillas. In my case, it was exactly 12. Finally, you need to toast all 12 quesadillas. Now, I tried adding a bit of oil to a baking sheet, placing 6 quesadillas in, and then bake them under the broiler until they are crispy. Then I flipped them and added back to the oven, and then I waited until the other side was crispy as well. Now, this sounds fast in theory, but honestly, it takes more time to do it with the oven instead of just using a pan. Just add 2 grams of oil on medium heat and now add 2 quesadillas. Don't forget to add a pinch of salt to the outside of the tortillas. This makes quite a difference in taste. Simply toast both sides for 45 to 60 seconds until they have some color, then flip and do the same. Doing it like this takes pretty much the same time as in the oven, if not less, and it also results in better browning of the tortilla, so I recommend making all 12 in the pan. Now, regardless of how you do it, you need to give them about 20 to 30 minutes until they are fully cooled down. If you add them to the freezer when they are still steaming, they will become way more soggy, which is not ideal. So to store, what I like to do is to take a piece of parchment paper for every quesadilla, wrap them tight, and as soon as I have prepared 4 quesadillas, I put them into a Ziploc bag and then into the freezer. You can also wrap them in paper towel, but only if you want to have some in the fridge. If you put the quesadillas in the freezer with a paper towel, the paper tends to stick to the tortilla sometimes, so better use parchment paper for the freezer. And if you want to eat one, simply add the frozen quesadilla directly from the freezer to the microwave at 400 to 450 watts for 5 to 7 minutes. They last in the fridge for up to 5 days or in the freezer for up to 3 months, and each of these chicken quesadillas comes in at 401 calories with 31 grams of protein. Make 2025 the year where you transform your body. If you want to finally lose weight and keep it off for the rest of your life, buy my cookbook that will help you make this process a lot easier. It has well over 200 recipes and you will receive every recipe update for free in the future once you've bought it. The link is in the description.